Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year here from our side, Swiss Resource Capital AG. My name is Jochen Steiger. I'm the CEO and founder of Swiss Resource and also the chief editor and founder of Commodity TV and Rohstoff-TV. Very warm welcome to our virtual roadshow, the first one this year. We have an early start 2022 with Fury Gold Mines, and you see already the gentlemen of the management here. Let me start with Ivan Bebek. He is the chair of Fury Gold Mines and also one of the founders. Then we have Tim Clark, the CEO of the company, and Bryan Atkinson, who is the vice president projects. Guys, good morning. Happy New Year to you, and great to have you all on board. Thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having us.
It's great to be here, Johan.
Super, thank you. Before we get started, we still have people checking in here. Let's give it another 20-30 seconds. Some legal remarks from our side. As you know, we fully comply to DSGVO, data security law of Europe, but also Switzerland and Great Britain, of course. So nobody can see each other, nobody see any names nor emails. Please use the chat function for our Q&A session, which will then appear after, let's say, 20-25 minutes of the presentation, and we want to have a lively discussion, of course, because I think we have a lot to talk about. And Fury Gold Mines is a great opportunity, that is for sure. So let me bring up the presentation now, and I would say, guys, the floor is yours.
Great. I'll start off just by introducing the team here. First off, thank you for having us here, and thank you all for tuning in to listen to how much things have changed and how great they are going for Fury right now. We started out about a year and a half ago in late October 2020 to put this company together in a virtual environment. And we had some big ambitions, no questions. And they took until the fourth quarter of last year for them to transpire, which is what we're going to talk about today. Everything we'd hoped for to see in the drilling at Committee Bay for 5 years at Orin previous to Fury has finally happened. And then over in Quebec, we figured out where to go and what we have, and it looks really exciting. And there's still results coming as I'm talking right now today. There's been a really big transformational event with Tim Clark joining us as president and CEO. It's been an incredible fourth quarter with him since he started. I would say that the company's never been more efficient. It's a more simplified story, and I'm sure he'll talk a lot about that today. I'm joined with Tim and then Bryan Atkinson, our VP of operations. These two guys have been working harder than myself and many others to get this company on track, and it has a very robust year in front of it. But without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tim, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Ivan. Well, just for myself, to give a quick little background, I came from the capital markets side, working with mining companies the last 20 to 25 years. I joined the board last April, and in August, we made a transition in the CEO-ship, and Ivan had asked me to step in. The stock had come back about 50%, and we were sort of in transition of what I thought trying to be more of a hybrid development company, exploration company. And my thesis was to sort of, as Ivan indicated, was simplify the story and really focus in on what we're great at, which is exploration. We have a phenomenal team. We've got four projects, of which one we just sold. And I thought that basically heading into the market that we were in, that we were going to get far more rewarded for that type of style and culture and focus and a strategy. And we really sort of hunkered in this fall on streamlining our businesses. We cut back our expenditures. We had to wait for assay results to come through on projects that we were drilling throughout the summer. We monetized one of our assets out in British Columbia, which is the Homestake. And basically all the things that we targeted and hurdles we needed to jump, we really were able to accomplish better than I expected last fall. I think it puts us in a phenomenal position heading into 2022. Typically, we see a seasonal move in the market in the beginning of the year. I think right now the gold is still trying to find its footing, but it's the bulls, I think, are going to win out in the end with this inflation. And I think essentially this is a company that has got a phenomenal risk reward profile now than it did, 4 to 5 months ago. And if we get any kind of lift in the gold market, I think this is one of the few that you want to be involved with, because it's becoming a very well-run company. And we're going to talk a little bit next about our resources. I'm gonna just go right through the slides here quickly just to get started. And we're going to start with basically the Canadian. Basically, we had some great drill results this last fall with Eclair, but these are the three main projects. We got Committee Bay up in Nunavut, we got Eclair in Quebec, and we also are involved with the Eleanor South JV as the operator, which is just north of our Eclair mine. That gives you a little bit of edge there in terms of understanding that we are basically or all in Canada. And Canada is where you want to be. It's from a political standpoint. It's very favorable to mining. And to me, this was a very attractive metric to wanting to come to the company. To get started here on the Homestake Ridge transaction, again, you don't want to be all things to all people. You want to really focus in on what you're good at. And we had a phenomenal asset out in British Columbia. When I came in, it was potential to sell the company or that project. And effectively, we jumped right in the fall and restarted that negotiation back up with Dolly Varden. It's something we're realigned with them because the assets were adjacent that they had. And we ended up selling or negotiating, and we got to close the deal in February. But the transaction was for $5 million in cash and $45 million in stock. I think the real upside here is that we're staying with the company or the asset. We think there's a lot of potential upside. We're going to have two of us are going to be on the board, working closely with the company, and it helps solve two things. One is it gives us some cash coming in February. Plus, we think that there's potential for a lot more upside to the stock. And if this is a company that doubles, we're going to effectively pull out a $90 million on top of what we get with the $5 million. I mean, that could be game changing. It's hard to know what's going to happen there, but we feel that's a phenomenal option for us and puts us potentially in a much better place. And again, it was only one of our four assets. And we really want to focus in on the other two core assets, which is Committee Bay and Eclair. Bryan, this might be a good time for you to jump in and start talking about Eclair and where we are with the technical side.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tim, and good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, I guess, for some. So our Eclair project is, it's uniquely situated along road networks, close to power, quite a bit of infrastructure for this stage of an exploration project. So when we went in there, it's our only project that you can physically drive right up to the deposit, and it's that alleviates a lot of the logistical and operational concerns up there. If we look closer in at the property scale, geology here, we've got a large land package here with over 13 priority targets that we want to have a look at. You can see Eclair in the box, sort of in the left central of the image there. So that's where the deposit sits. But then you can see the other red polygons throughout the image there, and those are other targets that we've identified through historical geochem, reinterpretation of the geophysics and geology. And these are just areas that we're really excited to go out and get after. And we've done some preliminary work on Percival, and we'll see that in a little bit more detail here in a bit. So we've got a good pipeline of targets going up, drill targets advancing from preliminary geochem and geophysics all through to the drill stage. So really target rich environment and lots for us to do. If you look at the deposit, the Eclair deposit itself, this is the look when we inherited it. And, the question is always, can we expand it? So our first exploration drill hole was 660 meters out to the east of the deposit. And lo and behold, we hit 15 grams over a meter out there. So the deposit's open that way. We went close into the deposit and drilled some amazing holes along the eastern end of the deposit with 23 grams over 7 meters, 11 grams over 6 meters. Okay, so the deposit gets bigger. We know that. We took a step out to the west with some new lithogeochemistry look, targeting the mineralization horizon where it hadn't been drilled before. And the last hole we drilled in 2021 came out at 9.4 grams over 3 meters. So we're excited. It grows to the west. It grows to the east. We've opened up this deposit significantly from when we inherited it. If we look at the superficial look of that, so we're looking down plan view, map view right now, you can see the western targets, the eastern targets, and how they're sitting along the Eau-Claire structure. We've got the Snake Lake structure. We're really excited about Snake Lake. We've got some drill results pending out there. And then we've got a newly identified structure in there that's been mineralized as we've been drilling through the Snake Lake structure. If we look at the western hinge target, which was that last hole of 3 meters at 9.3 grams, 9.4 grams, you can see the different stratigraphy. The blue and green are different styles of basalt, of mafic volcanics that to the visual eye, to the logging geologist, look the same. But when you look at some of the chemistry of the rocks, you can pick out different units within that volcanic package. And you can see in the top left figure there, the mineralization out to the western end of the project is sitting at the top of the blue unit. And that only makes out about 10% of the gold mineralization for the deposit. If you look at the lower left figure, that's the 450 zone, which makes up 90% of the deposit. And all that mineralization is sitting at the base of the blue unit. So when we go out back up to the top left figure, you can see that the base of that blue unit hasn't been tested. So that's our hinge target, and that's where we're really excited to go back out there with first drill in the next month or two here. Going out to Percival, so we've got the deposit. That's all great. We know it expands, but there's also some really exciting historical intercepts. We got 6 grams over 9 meters, 7 grams over 8.5 meters out here. This was discovered in 2018, so it's fresh. This tells us that new discoveries can still be made out there. And the furthest west hole or eastern hole drilled into this, you can see the white box there, ended in you can see the rocks in the bottom right corner of the figure. That's the rocks that the hole was ended in. So there's mineralization sitting out there. This is the style of mineralization that sits in the halo around the mineralization that's giving us 7 grams over 8.5 meters at Percival proper. So we've identified the plunge of that fold-hosted mineralization. We've identified a secondary fold off to the east of that primary mineralization. And then we're seeing, the right rocks in the right situation out in that area as well. So pretty excited to get out there. We just completed a biogeochem survey out here. You can see it in the red box. We're waiting on the last bits of results coming in from that. And we'll be targeting off of that, and then completing an IP survey here in the next month out at Percival to really develop targets and get out there drilling in the first half of 2022 here. Going up to Eleanor South joint venture. Again, we inherited this project. It's a 5.5 kilometer long soil anomaly with plus 100 ppb soils sitting in there that had never been drill tested. This is 2006 data that had been sitting around that nobody had plotted up and had a look and gone, hey, wait a minute, there's this really good gold anomaly sitting out there that seems to be lying along some of these black structural lines. So these are faults and contact lithological contacts in the geology there. So we can see a control to it, a structural control to that gold mineralization, and the tenure of that. The gold anomaly it's the best gold anomaly we have across our entire portfolio that's been undrilled. So we're really excited to get back out there. We did an infill survey to confirm that anomaly, and again, we're just waiting on those last results coming in from 2021 here. Jumping way up to Nunavut, this is elephant country. It's greenstone belt, massive greenstone belts. We hold over 270,000 hectares up there across a 300 kilometer long greenstone belt at Committee Bay. This is anchored by the Three Bluffs resource, which is an indicated of 500,000 ounces at just shy of 8 grams, and an inferred of another 720,000 ounces at just over 7.5 grams. So we've got a good anchor sitting in the middle of it. We went out there this year. We did some testing into it, some new geophysical targets out there. And, we went up there and tested the entire belt. We did some work, some regional work to advance some pipeline targets. We drilled Raven, waiting on the results of 4 drill holes from that. And then we had 1 drill hole around the Three Bluffs deposit that was completed this year, and we'll look at that here. So you can see how this sits in the. So we're looking long section, 3D slice through the deposit here, and you can see in the yellow box there, 21 TB 152, 14 grams over 10 meters, 18.7 grams over 3 meters, and 23 grams over 10 meters, all within 30 meters of core. The typical part of the Three Bluffs deposit is hosted in a silicified and sulfidized iron formation, whereas this intersection is in a deformed metasediment. So our geologists, I was up on site when this came out. We weren't really excited about this hole until the assays came out. And so now we've got a job ahead of us to model out this deformation zone and figure out what it can mean. That intersect is 120 meters away from any other drill hole into the Three Bluffs deposit. And you can see the orange dots out there. We want to go back out and follow up on this, see what this means, see how much growth we can have in that bit. And we're shallow. We're only, we're 300 meters down hole, so about 250 meters from surface there, and hitting, grades that support underground. So I think we can significantly grow this resource going back out there and following up on this. How that looks in section. So the blue in the section is the iron formation. So this deformation zone is sort of sub-parallel sitting to it and denoted in the red boxes and the orange unit there. And you can see it sits about 10 meters off the iron formation. What we're excited about is where these two actually intersect. We've actually modeled it down that, about 100 meters below this, the geophysics is telling us that deformation zone should intersect with the iron formation. And, we don't know what's going to happen down there, but we're pretty excited about going out there and having a look at it. All right, I'll hand it back to Tim there. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, as you sit here and look at the geology, I think it's pretty exciting because we're a junior company. We have more than one asset, which is unusual. We're based in Canada. And from a treasury point of view, we're sitting on $2.6 million in cash. We did a $5.5 million private equity raise last fall. We've got a couple $1 million that came back to us from the Quebec. And we've got $5 million coming to us in February, assuming a close with Dolly Varden. We're fully financed from a capital point of view for running the company. We will likely do some kind of raise this year to put more money in the ground because that's what we're supposed to do in terms of expanding our exploration. What I'm most excited about here is we're at a great price right now. We haven't gotten credit in the market on our share price for the things we did this fall. Again, I want to point out that the Dolly Varden deal was for $50 million, which is half the market value of the rest of our whole entire company. And we've got our most sort of prolific opportunities in Nunavut and Quebec that we own 100%. I think the Eleanor JV, South JV, is really interesting. As Bryan points out, it's our most interesting sort of drill project, or not with the anomaly, 5.5 kilometer anomaly there. We are speaking with Newmont. They want to drill it, and so do we. It's a nice partner to have in this sector, and at the same time, we've had other companies. Some of the big companies have been looking at our Eclair project and Nunavut project. We've sat down with them this fall, and they continue to watch what our drill results are coming out. And I think that from a investor standpoint, there's a lot of ways to win here. Again, we have optionality with Dolly Varden, and we've got drill discoveries that I think are probably going to be our best targets, but because we're narrowing down where we want to be. We've done a lot of geo work and studies across our properties, and we're excited to start the process this spring, and that sort of gets us to where we are right now.
Yeah, just a couple of closing remarks for myself. This is an incredibly different company this year than it was last year. And the catalysts are really rich in terms of Committee Bay and Eclair. And then stay tuned for Percival, as the guys have pointed out. The Dolly Varden transaction, importantly there, a lot of scrutiny over when we were going to sell it. We've talked about it for some time. becoming a shareholder with Dolly was more important than putting a price on it, because we don't know how good that really is yet. And some of our best holes that we've targeted since we've had it are the ones that they're likely going to drill this summer. So we believe in the gold market, the silver market. We believe that asset will do extremely well. And we really know what we have in front of us now at Eclair and Nunavut. And that's something that we didn't have last year. And so I think the turn is going to be substantial for us. And we have $2.5 million in the treasury before we get the money back from Dolly, which is $5 million if the deal consummates mid-February, which gives us a very good cash position to be in as we start to get ready to do our programs for the rest of the year. But tremendous work by the team. And thank you all shareholders for your patience. This has definitely been more challenging than most companies due to the market conditions and the fact that we were learning so much about East Main, about the assets, about the opportunities, and trying to make discoveries in an environment where drill results were taking 90 days to come back. We don't have the magic solution to drill results and timing. There is new prep labs being built that could really help reduce that time frame, but we do have enough different targets, and we can have multiple drills turning to mitigate the long gaps between news. So a very, very catalyst-rich year ahead. I think the heavy lifting has most certainly been done, and now it's a question of how big can these things get. But so far, the sentiment internally has been extremely positive, and some more news to come out here in the very near future. So I'll turn it back to you, Johan. Any questions from the group? We're happy to take.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for the great presentation here. Let me go to the chat function. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please type your questions into the chat function. I will moderate this a bit then. But let me get started first. Before we start with the company itself, I got several questions already before about Sombrero, the copper nickel listing. Can you tell us anything on that?
You know what we're going to do?
And I'm a shareholder too. I want to know it also.
Yes. First and foremost, not everything's in our control. And we saw the Peruvian election go to the left. And we've seen some challenges recently with Hochschild in Ayacucho, the province where Sombrero is. We've been at the finish line with false starts with the communities for a lengthy period of time, but we've...
Oops. Evan?
I think we lost him there. He might have to log back in, but that's okay. Why don't we go to the next question?
Okay, super, no problem. Okay, let's go to Homestake first. Let's put it that way. Why did you sell it at that time point? Was there a let's say, specific reason for that? You got 76 million Dolly Varden shares. So are you restricted to sell them in a time frame here? And do you have any commitments still that you have to fulfill, or is that all clear and done?
Yeah, I was.
Sorry, Ivan, 1 second. I just posed a question to Tim.
Yeah, it's about the Homestake. So basically, I think Ivan, as he touched upon Homestake, it was hard to really value what we thought was the reasonable price for it. And the partner that we have with Dolly Varden is one that I thought made the most sense. We had other people looking at it, other companies looking at Homestake. And when you have a group that's really focused on that one asset and they're joining the two assets to resources together, there's significant synergies there that's going to potentially have some upside. I was really thrilled to get the $5 million because we like to have cash, but I also didn't want to give it away in this market because I think that asset, according to the geologists, and Bryan can attest to this too right now, there's a lot of upside there, and there's room for more discoveries there, and it's a very leverageable company. Sean Kun is a really quality CEO. I think he's very good at marketing, and his team is solid. We're going to have our geologists working with them, and we're going to have 2 people on the board. So as much as we've sold it, we're really participating. We want to ride it. I personally am a believer that this could be a real game changer for us down the road. If this stock doubled in price, it fully funds us for everything we want to do, and can give us some real optionality as a company to transform ourselves beyond where we are today. And if it isn't, we still have tremendous value out of there. We can sell stock after a year. It's a source of funds. And we've got I'm just not as worried about the finances as I think we were last summer. I think that, as Ivan said earlier, is that investors were starting to, the sentiment's really changing our direction, considering what we've accomplished this fall. I think when I came in here as a board member, again, we were just trying to be too big and too fast and do too many things. And having them focused on the Homestake gives us a lot of ability to really nail down what's going on in Nunavut and Quebec. And I think that's where a lot of our core competency is, and where I think the companies are really interested in us from a larger corporate point of view that may want to buy us out someday. So again, it takes a lot of pressure off what we're doing. And I think it's the reason why their sentiment's really changing, is we're making smart moves and we're keeping a lot of optionality. So as an investor, we can win in 2 or 3 different ways. We don't have to wait for one thing. And if we happen to hit 2 or 3 of those, we're really have some incredible upside. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited to be here and why I took the job.
Fantastic. So that means you have the full upside. You must not put in more money, and you have all optionality.
Yes.
That's how we want it. Super. Now,
Yeah.
Ivan, back to you shortly. Sombrero, I know it's probably an exchange, Peru, whatever election problem.
Yeah, you know what? No, it's just it's a very, very tough part of Peru, and you saw Hochschild's mines get shut down the other day. The political change to the left, Tier 1 had no issue. They're working smoothly, no delays, everything on time. Ayacucho, the province where Sombrero is, has been different. It's been a bit more challenging, and the things you would fear in an election of the wrong party winning has been a bit of a slowdown in things at Sombrero. So that's really what's happened there. There is meetings continuously that could really give us that go ahead at any time, and I will refer it to being month to month. We're going to come out with a corporate update to summarize that here in due course, probably sometime next week. That's when we're anticipating, as I posted in your chat room. And then, in addition to Sombrero, we're thinking a lot bigger. I'm thinking I need a few more Sombrero-esque projects in South America. We started this process in November because I don't want to wait another year or 2 until Sombrero's trading or Copernico's trading. And so just think really big, and Sombrero bigger, and think it's going to be a portfolio. There's a big team, and this company will come to market in the first half of this year. That's our goal, and it'll have multiple opportunities to leverage into this rising market, which Tim talked about for Fury. So there's a new plan. It's bigger. There's more, and there's some incredible assets on the table that we've come across, and our goal is to get them in as quickly as possible, bolster the portfolio, to take the pressure off Sombrero, which is likely going to come on side at the exact same time this happens. And then we can offer, multiple opportunities with the company going forward. But the wait's been long, Johan. It's been long through Oren, and the wait has to be worth it. And the one thing that hasn't really started yet is the market. And we're going to capture the market with one of the most robust markets, with a very, very big look on a few major assets in Copernico before it comes to market. So stay patient. I mean, you have no choice. I apologize for the delay.
No problem.
It's not in my control, but we're doing everything we can. We've tried everything we can that you could possibly do, to get this thing going. Our anxiousness to move this to listing is equal to or more than any shareholders, because we're at the front line with it. So stay tuned. Updates will be regular. There'll be, every few weeks, there'll be something to talk about. There'll be news. You'll see the company come to life, and just stay tuned. Look forward to big things out of Copernico. It's coming.
Absolutely. Super. No, that's great. And as long as you pay 2 gin tonics, I have enough patience.
Fair enough. In the meantime, though, Johan, I just started buying Fury again for the first time. And this is a real compliment to Tim, to Bryan, to Michael, to the team. The team in Quebec has really developed. Dave Rivard and the rest of the geologists and Bryan, they've really got a great handle on what they're doing. When you're in these exploration companies, you go through different psychologies in markets. When there's good markets and bad markets, it gets tough. You can get down on things. But, last year was a really tough year on the share price. And but internally, the guys they're super confident. They're really happy with what they're seeing, and it's starting to look really big in certain areas. And there'll be more of information that really drives us towards that. But for me, Committee Bay, I've waited 5 years, over $60 million to hit that hole. It's not a new rock type, but it's a rock type that carries a kilometer of strike length roughly that could really give parallel to Three Bluffs and also down plunge. I mean, we're starting to talk about big things happening at Committee Bay, as Bryan said, in the land of elephants, right? You come over to Eclair and Bryan's talking about a hinge and everyone sees 3 meters of 9 grams. Well, hinges are one of the most productive geological features in terms of ounces. Great Bear was predominantly a hinge. Three Bluffs has 40 grams over 12 meters in the hinge. Hinges deliver massive ounces. We are early in the hinge at Eclair, but it's overwhelmingly meaningful because we've seen 12 meters of a gram or a meter of 12 grams. We've seen some width and some grade. Now we're seeing both width and grade. The actual mining width is in that intercept. So, I think Eclair is going to give really big for us. I really, really, really like Percival. And Percival was something when we took over East Main that I was equally as interested in as the Eclair deposit. I know everyone likes ounces, the bird in hand, but I like what might be there more than what's there, because that's where we get paid as shareholders. And what I saw and what I'm seeing with the guys, and Tim and I are seeing with the guys at Percival, it's next level. You can drill down plunge. The predecessors had the orientation wrong of the structure. That's huge. Real ounces can be added with that. There's grade, there's width. And this biogeochem survey that Bryan did, that's 6 kilometer program. We've seen preliminary results. We'll be formal with it here shortly, but it has a shot to be comparative and competitive to Eclair or possibly more. It's early days. I like that exploration look as long as it's there, and super, super excited about what's coming.
And I'm just going to jump in there quickly, only because that property is 30 kilometers. It's not just got Eclair and Percival. There's 9 potential targets there that we haven't even touched yet. And when I was talking with our geologists, with Michael and Bryan, I mean, we've got 20 years of drilling if we wanted to. The reality is that if you look at the overall gold market, there's been very little consolidation in M&A, considering where the gold price is right now. And if you look at some of the historical figures, when back in, I think, 17, 18, M&A increased massively, and we're at a higher gold price than then. I think we're in the early days of that consolidation. We saw Agnico Eagle with Kirkland Lake and a few others behind it, but we get any kind of lift to the gold price here, and I think this kind of consolidation can happen pretty quickly, and it will flow right down to the junior space. And we've got a major property in an area of the world, which is Quebec in Canada, that really has a developed road system and power that's essential to the economics of these companies that they're really keen on. And I think that this is going to be a much more interesting opportunity if we can get one more summer of drilling in here. And I think good things can happen in the next year.
Okay, let's stick with Eclair, because I have also 2 questions here before we come to the other projects, because I see already in the Q&A here coming up several questions. You moved from a developer status to an explorer status. Okay, agreed. Through the sale of Homestake, that is fine. But I remember also Eclair, we were talking in former interviews a little bit about, maybe 2025 could be in production. Do you see that still? Or do you see more the case that you say, hey guys, we go full throttle exploration. We find there, I don't know, 5 million, 7, 8 million ounces gold. And then we are partnering, or we sell the whole thing and we still keep Committee Bay and our Homestake shares, or let's call it Dolly Varden shares, if you like.
I can see Ivan chewing at the bit to want to answer this, but we can both answer. But Ivan, you jump in and I'll clean up. But this is a great question for us.
Yeah, just from the history part, and Tim, and I'll give you most of the answer. But from the history there, doing a hybrid exploration development company, as Tim said, that plan was flawed. And it was flawed because the markets weren't there and the currency and the share price wasn't there. The dilution would have been too punitive, and we had not sold Homestake or monetized it yet. We recognize that as a board and as a team. We are speculating with the gold price like everyone else, and turning it back to exploration and simplifying the story, which is something that Tim really brought into the group here, was the perfect message. And just to talk about the future and potential outcomes, I'm not as worried about producing as I am about performing. And I'd rather perform with an incredibly well-performed share price than to be able to say I've put another mine into production. That's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it for that huge share price return, and exploration is going to get us there. So 2025, are we still Fury? Have we been bought, split? The optionality is great. The projects are great. I think you've seen with recent moves in Pretium, getting purchased. You saw Kirkland Lake, Agnico. You've seen, Red Lake with Bebek. You're seeing all the transactions happen in Canada. Every major wants that geopolitical footprint to improve their geopolitical risk rating, right? So we are in that, as Tim said, we are in the number one address in the world. I'd say Nevada's is a close second or tie. These are the two addresses you'd want to be in, and we have real ounces. We have real ounces with high grade, and we're ready to capitalize not just on the gold price. That's great. You can buy gold to do that, but we're ready to capitalize on discovery in that phase. And we now know where it's going. I saw a comment there about the drill results assay times. We touched on it. There's a new sample prep lab being built in Manitoba, that in Winnipeg, that could actually really help with that. But Bryan is someone we nickname Navy SEAL just because he finds ways through everything, and he's looking hard, because constant steady news flow, no matter how good I am or Tim is or the team is, we need news flow, and we are very mindful of that. So we're going to make sure that it's steady. Tim, I left most of the guts of that for you. But you go ahead and clean.
Well, look, from a practical standpoint, like I mentioned, I came from over 23 years in capital markets, and I brought a lot of these companies in to see investors. And the last thing you want to do in a tough gold market is walk in and say you want to raise $300 to $400 million to go build a mine in 5 years. It just was not in the cards. And I actually think, from an economic standpoint, you want to be really good at what you do. And we were not a development company and a producing company. We'd have to go out and hire all these guys. But we have a phenomenal exploration team with Michael Hendrickson, who's ex-Newmont, and Bryan, who's worked all over the world, and Rivard, who's probably one of the top-tier guys and reputationally in Quebec. And so you want to lean on what you're great at. And if you think about what Mark Bristow, who started Randgold, is now the CEO of Bebek, he says the best value he ever created for his companies was when he founded. And that's what we're going after. And we have these opportunities here. We're not just sitting on one, we have multiple opportunities, and the drill results are proving that. And at the same time, I will bring up that, Mike Timmins came from Agnico Eagle. He was born and bred there. It's a big producing company. I get why he wanted to be a producer and what the direction he was trying to take the company. But at the same sense, I think you need to be entrepreneurial in this space, particularly a junior company. I've seen a lot of companies try and stick with their knitting and miss the opportunity. And when I came in here, one of the things I wanted to do was be a lot more entrepreneurial in how we thought about our investments. And when you ask the question about what are we going to do, or are we going to spin off the JV and monetize that, or why we did a Homestake, what I'm here to do is create value for the investors. And if it makes sense to monetize the JV to fund a bigger drilling program at Eclair, well, that may be great, and that may be the way to go. Would we want to take maybe some of the money if we get something back from Dolly Varden and go out and buy something else in Quebec? Absolutely, if it makes sense to us. The end of the day, though, is that we're trying to create a company that's really attractive to the larger corporations, like the Newmonts, who do own a percentage of our company, and Agnicos or Barricks of the world. And Bebek is in need of good jurisdictions. If we ended up getting something up in Nunavut, why wouldn't they want to buy that asset? It's a 300-kilometer gorilla if we get there. And so this is the kind of multitasking kind of thing you're trying to position yourself in. I personally believe that it's great to have a vehicle. If we did monetize some things, I think we have an opportunity to keep this company going longer term, because I think the gold market's going to rip. I think it's due. I think inflation is here. I think this transitory commentary about inflation is false. Powell's just on it this morning, and the senators are grilling him about that same topic, and he's admitted they were wrong. We're going to get inflation here, and the world is getting more complicated and demanding, and we're going to be in front of a potential big commodity market, and we're going to pivot when we need to. And that's really the guts of what we're doing.
Absolutely. And I think this is anyhow the decade of the commodities. That is also for sure. As you were talking already about Eleanor South, there's also one question from my side, one question from a shareholder here. You said already it's possible that you monetize, because we saw that 38% are with you, 38% is Newmont, and the rest is Azimut exploration. So this is a little bit like a mixed thing, I would call it. Nobody has the real majority, if you want to put it like that. So what is the cost share on the drilling program of Eleanor South? Meaning, what financial commitments do you have then there? And could you really imagine to monetize this for the right price?
I think I'll start with that, Tim, real quick. We are the majority, and we are operator of the JV. So we have 38.22 versus 0.12. We're just ahead by a hair, but we have operatorship, something Eastmain did very well with that JV. I would defer, and I think, Tim, you'd agree with me. Let's defer to, let's see the exploration results, and let's watch it closely. Eleanor is a very profitable mine at a lot lower gold prices. It's a very important mine from what we understand. And I'm really, really excited. And Bryan, you can compliment this too, about the exploration results on surface. And I think there's some really good exploration to be done there. And I mean, if you could find a mine next to Eleanor, to Newmont's mine, with them as part of the equation, it's good for all JV partners at that stage and stuff. So, it's early days. There's some exploration to be done there, which is what I love most, because to Tim's point about Mark Bristow's comment, you get paid for what you find. But, I say it's early days. It looks great. Stay tuned, follow it. We have optionality around it, but right now we like it. And that's where we stand.
Do you have already a budget for 2022 for that?
Coming soon. In the next month, you'll have it. We're just processing the final data.
Exactly. So the whole budget is coming next month. Do I get that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Perfect. Good. And then what is the cost share on a drilling program? Is it like the equality of the percentages?
Yeah, that's correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Straight line dilution if one JV partner chooses not to participate.
Okay, super. Yeah, because that was the question I wanted to have that answered. All right, then let's move to Committee Bay. I think this is as you said, the big gorilla here in the room and on your property portfolio, definitely. I mean, 300 kilometers long, Jesus Christ. I think this is the largest last greenstone belt in the world, right?
It's one of the last ones with the amount of high grade from one end to the other. It's been really a tough one, but a great one to have, bittersweet.
Yeah. So for me, the question is, first of all, how do you think you can handle this in the future? Because 270,000 hectares in that area is, you have to fly in, you have to bring in, you have a camp there, you need to have diesel, you need to have power finally. Yeah. Maybe you want to put up a small modular reactor from Bill Gates, I don't know, for the future for 5 mines, because I think this might be a possibility. But the natural partner to me would be Agnico Eagle. Have you been approached?
We've certainly talked to Agnico Eagle, and I think that it is only 130 kilometers south of Agnico Eagle. They've got their hands full with Kirkland Lake right now, but they're certainly not the only ones who've asked us about it. This is a risk and reward scenario. It's more expensive to go up there and drill, but your reward is a lot bigger. I mean, the drill hole we came out of there with was stunning. I think the market really didn't understand how important that was. I know it was going around Vancouver in the junior exploration space, how noticeable it was. But I think going forward, again, you got to remember that, Sean Boyd has said he thinks the future of gold exploration is in the Arctic. People are getting better at it. And the jurisdiction is, as Ivan and I have talked about, in Canada is phenomenal. And there's a big land package up there. If we can prove up enough ounces, someone's going to want to take it at some point. It's a matter of getting the money and finance and getting up there and actually, sorting through it. There's a lot of territory to go through, and could be really exciting for us. But still, Quebec is a major focus for us. Again, you go back to the companies that really want to focus in on the easy money, which is an area of the world that's easy to get to with roads and power. It's hard not to be attracted to the Quebec area first. But I think, again, when you look at a company like ours to buy it, they can take a risk buying a property up in the Arctic if you already got a really strong core asset in Quebec. And when we looked at the BC project, it certainly is amazing to be in the Golden Triangle. It's getting a lot of attention from the major investors, but we've extracted some money out of that, and we've got a huge option play on BC. So again, as much as the companies are looking at one asset, they're all going to be interested in what we have as a package, and that's unusual in the junior space. It just doesn't happen. You don't get them in Canada, and so there you go.
I have also a question here from a shareholder. What are the largest challenges at Committee Bay from a geological perspective? How much of the targets are really worth to investigate? And this comes also along with a question from my side. Could you say, for example, are we make it in 50-kilometer pieces, for example?
I'll turn to Brian. Maybe
Brian,
you take that one.
Yeah,
he's the project guy. That's right.
He's a geologist.
The challenges up there are numerous. From the geological perspective, the biggest one is going to be the till cover, right? So you don't have a lot of outcropping rocks and that. So it's covered in anywhere from a meter of till to 20 meters of till. So this is masking any sort of bedrock geological and mineralization signature. So early days Oren style, we went out there and sampled the whole belt. Systematically, the same style sample, the same sample medium, and that's really what everything else beyond that has been based off of, is those results and that targeting. So geologically, that's the biggest. It's a great big project. We've surveyed the whole thing. We've got geophysics, we've got geochemistry across the whole thing. So we're starting to narrow down on areas of interest as we go through. And to your point of it being 270,000 hectares, as we go through and refine the land package, we're going to tighten it up to the areas of interest with some buffers and whatnot as we go through it, so that we're not dealing with the entire current land package. Yeah.
Just a comment from my end, Johan, real quick. Last summer was our most conservative program we've ever done financially at Committee Bay, and it was our best result. And I just want people to understand that comment, because the theme of learning and figuring things out or earning your luck, it certainly is going in the right direction. It's been worth it, even though it's been tough for me and for shareholders, for the team, for everybody around, right? Second point, till cover in elephant country. I've always said to the guys, if Fury or Oren ever give up on Committee Bay, I'll take it personally. It's just too many big elephants could be found. I think what makes it work, to Tim's comment, with a major is the discovery has to be made that looks like it could be plus 5 million ounces. This is a bull market project. We own it. Our cost of carrying it is extremely low. And if we get into a really good financial position over the next few years, great. But I think that the path forward is take a big step on what you did. And if it hits again around Three Bluffs, like we saw, or if Raven comes together, then you go back to it with more, and then use what you learned about what's delivering gold and high grade gold over good widths and apply it throughout the belt. The good news is we have over $60 million worth of data on the belt. And so it gives us a chance to go back to the drawing board. And something Michael Henriksen said recently with this program is we got to try something new. We got to go after shear zones or different things. And I think being creative when you've been on something for so long is the challenge. And it's starting to work. We're starting to get into new things up there, and I love it. And I'd love to see gold over 2,000 and a discovery at Committee Bay. I think those two would meet our share price really, really well. We would do really extremely well. So it's definitely got a shot. And this goes back to our theme at the opening of our presentation. Everything we'd hoped to happen is starting to happen. We have our first hit at Committee Bay. We have a hit at the hinge at Eclair. Snake Lake looks really good. Percival is about to come in. It's a real target. It's coming to life. We get to drill it here in a couple months. And then we monetized and partnered with Homestake. So it's not a drag on us. We get to focus, as Tim said, on the main assets and support them to go monetize that. And I personally don't think we'll be selling shares of Dolly. It's almost 2 million ounces of high-grade gold equivalent in the Golden Triangle, and it has room to get a lot bigger. I think that that's going to get bought at some point in the next 18, 24 months if the programs are successful this summer, maybe this summer, next summer, and maybe it's a much bigger check that comes our way. But, there's not too many juniors that have a valuation like ours with 50 million plus in marketable securities, plus elephant swings and discoveries that are starting. And that's why I'm buying shares today. And that's why I think everybody should take a really, really hard look at this company and, ignore last year, because you're not going to relive the past. Think of where you're going to go next. And that's where I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And I mean, buying shares at that level makes even more sense, because stock price is way too low to my understanding and also to my valuation. And there is a question from a shareholder in Geneva regarding the stock price, and maybe you can answer that shortly. Do you see, despite the gold price, any other special reasons why the stock went so low? I mean, everybody was in the same boat and hit by that shaky precious metal market last year, right?
Yeah, I'll comment first, and Tim, you can add to it. Yep. But no question that assay lab delays. We were stuck for 2-3 months, and we didn't know what we had. We didn't know where to go next. We didn't know what to do, and because we didn't have results back. And when you don't know, you have a good asset, you know it's going to go in a direction, but you don't know. It's not much to say. Like that quietness is painful and it hurt. So that accentuated it, no question. And then secondly, we did a CEO change, and no doubt you do a transformational event. I've all the respect in the world for Mike Timmins, and we saw the business a little bit differently. And I obviously, Tim and I, we tend to finish each other's sentences, and we both love exploration and the growth model, and the fit's better. So it was tough, and I think those two things accentuated it. The market was picking on us a bit more, and we are fairly high profile, and that works to our advantage when we get it right. But if you don't have things going the right direction, it obviously works against you. But good news is, Johan, a lot of family, a lot of friends, we've stayed intact. We've never, ever stopped. And I don't stop till the companies I'm associated with work out. That's my pedigree. But I thank all the big supporters who not only financed us, we kept it really close to home in the last funding we did, but also the ones that have bought large positions in the market. They're really capturing some very good prices. And I like to say we've cleaned out the structure. And the last point I'll make, and you can attest to this by your experience, we took over Eastmain. So we had a series of shareholders that were not our own. And, that transaction was in favor of Orange side more than Eastmain side. So it was portrayed. And I'm sure a lot of people came out. But, I don't buy or sell on emotion. I buy because of the assets. And I look at the team and what they're capable of doing. And look, I'll take the tough year. I don't mind it. I own more shares now than I did a year ago. And the targets look better than they did a year ago. So, generally we trade at premiums. Our group well. And we're trading at 0.12 NAV right now, and the industry's at 0.4 to 0.5. So we certainly have some work to do. Tim's background, his contacts, his relationships, they're paramount in going forward. And I love what he's doing. It's, hats off to him. When will we see it in the share price? That's probably the next question to be asked. Tim's talked a lot about, seasonality improving this quarter. Once momentum starts here, it's going to be followed with a lot of really good drill holes because of what we learned last year. So we think it could start anytime the next few months, and we could really turn this around. Balance sheet looks great. We burn about 350 a month. We'll have over 7 million in the treasury mid-February if Dolly closes. And we have a lot of options. Which way do we go? What do we do? But all of that will be underpinned by being aggressive, going for high risk, high reward with the backstop of really high quality ounces.
I would just jump in on there, last summer, and basically the market came off and companies get oversold and they get overbought. And we were in a position where we were transitioning a CEO. I think we got a little bit behind. When you take your foot off the gas a little bit, it's amazing how quickly things can escalate or go the wrong way. And when I walked in here, I think we got punished for it. And so this fall has been a complete turnaround. Culturally, people are much more productive. We kind of were amazed that everything kind of went our direction. And when you looked at the share price, it really didn't move. And that really was not a reflection of us. It's a reflection of the market and the economy where people are focusing their attention. I was not surprised. I think Ivan was sort of a little frustrated at times. And I said, no, this is very typical of working in the capital markets. And what you got to realize is that when you create value, eventually investors recognize it. And here we are the first 2 weeks of the year. Things haven't moved as much as they would like. I sat on the phone with one of my sort of top bankers, and they said, everybody's sort of, no one wants to go first here, but they all know it's coming. And when you have a move in the gold market or precious metals market, it can be really fast and furious. And my recommendation to any investors is diversify some of your investments and take a position early when you are uncomfortable with the valuation, but it's a good stock, because you're going to want to buy it later and you're going to be mad that you didn't. And it's a lot easier to buy in a second tranche, having been up 20, 30, 50%, and you feel a lot better about it. And you don't want to put yourself in a position of anxiety. And taking a position in the junior space, there's probably a handful of names that are really well run. The platform that we work on with Ivan in Vancouver is one of the top. That's why I came here. I've been in this industry a long time, and working with great people is the first and foremost of what you want to do. And when it comes to your personal investing, and then you look for the resource. And you have multiple resources here. You have multiple ways to win. I think not taking a position, you might be disappointed you miss out. And that's why I'm here, and that's why Ivan's buying more in the stock.
Fantastic. So I got another question in here. After the AI attempts, Ivan said that the geologists have honed in on magnetic signatures as locating sizable veins. Did that signature data pinpoint at the drill tip of actually work?
I'll turn that to Bryan, and you can talk a little bit about that. But what's the big revelation, Bryan? With that question in mind, what's the big revelation for you guys up there, and what really got you in that aha moment for us all to look forward to the progression?
Yeah, most definitely.
I'm restating the question so that it can be more informative there.
Yeah. So the AI program was great, and the thing with AI is you have to train it to look for something. So you put in a bunch of data and you focus it towards what you think you're looking for. And at that point, we trained it towards 3 bluffs. So we were looking for iron formation, silicification, and lots of sulfide. Those all have very distinct geophysical signatures. So a lot of the data was weighted towards geophysics. What was missed in that is the shear zones that we're starting to see. Raven's a shear zone. The intercept that we had this year at 3 bluffs is in a shear zone. These rocks are completely different. They've got less than 1% sulfide. They're not magnetic. So they have a completely different geophysical signature that's masked by some of these higher, the ones that have the 3 bluffs geophysical signature. So that's been the revelation, is that, yes, iron formation hosted gold is great, but now we need to start looking at some of these other host rocks out there as also being important. The metasediments, mafic volcanics, those types of things. You're seeing whale tail at Agnico Eagle is hosted in the contact between iron formation and mafic volcanics. So, and that's what we have at Inuri. So, we're starting to just kind of broaden our scope from just looking at highly magnetic iron formations and where they're altered with silicification and sulfides, and starting to just broaden our scope, looking at structures and that. So that's the big revelation up there, is, just to open our eyes more.
Okay. Which is key. Like that's the point, Johan, and to the question that was asked, there's no perfect science to find gold, or else gold would be easy to find and we wouldn't have a shortage of discoveries, right? But the fact that there was a major revelation last year, and it happened before we went up there with targeting at Raven and thoughts towards 3 bluffs, that's why we drilled the holes in both places. There is a difference. Committee Bay will be different than it was for the last 5 years for us going forward, because we're learning. And the point, stepping a little bit away from the screen and being creative and letting other ideas exist. That's how discoveries get made. And the guys are doing a tremendous job up there, and I love their energy and can't wait to send them back up.
Okay, last question. As you said it already, you had quite a turnover in shareholders over the last 12-15 months. So what is the shareholder situation today? Ivan, you said you are buying shares now as an insider, which is always good to see, of course. So what is management share? Where do you see, let's say, institutions, retail? And does this prevent you a little bit, at least, from being taken over too cheap?
Well, we've maintained all of our core big shareholders from Oren. There's about 3 of them that with management made up about 35-40% of Oren, right? And then there's our secondary group of shareholders that make up a lot of really, really great high net worth individuals and followers, letter writers, and so on. I'd say right now, out of 125 million shares, we can probably attest to about 95 million in those really good hands that I've just suggested. And that's remarkable. But if you look at the amount of volume we've traded, and if you get all the responses from the people that have been accumulating, some really, really smart money took really big positions. We've incorporated some new substantial investors out of the US that have come in on the backside of seeing a gold market actually starting at some point here in the next year or two. And so, the registry, that's something I've cared about since I stepped foot in the business, is who owns our shares. And if a takeover bid comes early, it comes down to a vote. And I think the bigger thing that's going to affect the vote, besides price performance, will be market conditions. If we're in a good environment and markets are performing, I think we'll get an extremely great premium for it. But if we're in a very punitive state of the gold market, it's going to be tough to get people to hold on for more. I'm going to leave it up to Bryan and the technical team to drill the holes and tell us, when we should sell or not sell it. But we definitely have enough support in amongst shareholders to fend off giving this away early. Some people have looked for that as an exit, but the opportunity is far bigger than our share price right now. We're way behind our fundamentals, and we believe we will get there, especially with the new, way we're spending our money, the efficiency and the deal with Dolly and stuff. We're in a position at the discovery with the drill bit, and we're also in a position corporately to really perform here and make up for lost time of last year, which hasn't happened yet.
I would just jump in there and mention that one of the reasons why Ivan brought me on was my 25 years in institutional side. And, retail and high net worth gets you only so far, but where you really supersize is getting institutional ownership. We're getting in, we're doing the meetings, and we're ramping up on a marketing program the next month or so. And we will be at the BMO conference, which is the #1 in the world. We will be at PDAC. And we have a nice schedule this year lined up. The story that, as a ex-capital markets guy, the story that I can tell and why I think it's interesting and it is going to really resonate right now versus when I first came on. It's a great time to be looking at the space, and we check a lot of boxes, and institutions are going to be interested because they are in a place where they're not just sitting on the large caps anymore. They believe that the bull market is coming. And where they really add value to these billion-dollar funds is in the tail. And I have spoken to a number of them, and they want good ideas, and they're interested in hearing what the stories there are. It's not a lot of liquidity, but again, they're willing to take sizable positions that if they can get a 10-bagger out of that, they get that in the performance, and they get paid for it. So I think it will be an interesting couple months here as we watch the markets move.
Okay, fantastic. Guys, we are well over the hour. Thank you very much for those last 63 minutes. That was really great. Ivan, Tim, and Bryan, thanks a lot for the presentation, answering all the questions. I can tell you one thing, I will go out and buy now some shares because now I'm no longer restricted because this was a live recording. That is great. I do it like Ivan.
I'll compete with you.
Yeah, because that stock price is way too cheap. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for attending our first virtual roadshow this year. And yeah, you heard it. I would say Fury Gold Mines is the fast and the Fury. Yes, probably yes for gold. And it looks really like as gold is in high demand. We just got the new data, and the mint in the US sold over 500,000 ounces alone in the fourth quarter. That is really a great sign on the one hand. On the other hand, Tim and Ivan named it already. Inflation is definitely not transitory. That is complete bullshit, and it will stay for a long time here. That's really for sure. And I must really say the projects of Fury are really fantastic. fantastic, all in the big elephant country in Canada with lots of optionality. The company has the money to do so and has the future possibility if gold goes to 2,400, which is my target for this year definitely, and 2,780 for next year. I would think, this can really be a multi-bagger. That is also for sure. Great management, great geological team, great team overall, and this is exactly what you want to own. And the best thing is you still get it on the 2021 winter sale stock price. So those are the things where you make the money, buy cheap and sell high, of course. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and you guys did really right to listen to us today here. So thanks for watching us. Once again, Happy New Year from all of us to you. We wish you all the best, and hope to see you soon. Personally, it does not look like that. Also, with in the first quarter, with all the exhibitions, it will probably not work here in Europe. Hopefully, at least for PDAC then. But stay healthy. All the best. Thanks for watching us, and bye bye from Switzerland.
Thank you.
Thank you.